In order to improve your mental toughness and your discipline, you need to follow the energy of discipline protocol. So basically, energy of discipline. What does that mean? Discipline, first of all, means that something feels uncomfortable, and even though you don't want to do it, you go and do the thing anyways. So it's doing work that you don't want to do. And it's usually uncomfortable work that you don't want to do. That's what you avoid. That's what you procrastinate. And discipline is all about doing it despite having this initial barrier, this wall of discomfort that eventually disappears if you just push through it. Sometimes the discomfort lasts the whole time that you do it. So then physiologically, physically in our bodies, what actually happens when we perform discipline, when we force ourselves to do something that we procrastinate, or to have self-control to keep ourselves away from the the cigarette that we're trying to quit. What's actually happening in here? Research shows, according to this book by a neuroscientist, they said that discipline and self-control both are controlled by something in your brain called the prefrontal cortex. And basically, the more the stronger this area of the brain is, the more likely you are to actually push through and do the hard work even when you don't feel like it, or to have the self-control to stop the addiction that you're trying to free yourself from. Discipline only happens when you have a strong prefrontal cortex. And a lot of researchers have studied this. When they have done things that weaken the prefrontal cortex, like you drink alcohol or you sleep deprive yourself, your prefrontal cortex will basically be turned off. It's like you have an on and off switch, and voluntarily, people ignorantly and voluntarily just turn off the on switch for their prefrontal cortex every single day. They're voluntarily turning off the brain area that actually controls discipline. And discipline is the foundation of the happiness protocol. Without discipline, without mental toughness, without self control, courage, you can't live a happy life. Hard work is inescapable and inevitable. So then, what part of us actually makes us capable of doing the hard work even when we don't feel like it? The prefrontal cortex. So, in order to improve discipline, we need to improve the prefrontal cortex. How do we do that? There are multiple ways, but through the energy of discipline protocol, basically, the more energy that we give to a brain area, the stronger it will be in performing that function that it's supposed to form. So, if you if someone was like dehydrated, of course they would like die, or they wouldn't be able to run as far or to think as clearly as the guy who is hydrated. Dehydration impairs your brain and your body. So the more resource that you give to your brain, which is the water, the more it will perform. So then what resource do we need to give to our brain? Energy, also called ATP in the body. So the energy of discipline model, watch this. A it requires that we need energy. So how do we increase the ATP that gets sent up to our brains? The first thing is intermittent fasting. Basically, how you do this is from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's when you can eat. Have only 2 meals a day. So you have your lunch at 12 p.m. and you have your dinner at 6 p.m. And as much as possible, don't have snacks in between the 2 meals, the designated scheduled meals. But if you want to, you can go ahead. It just removing the snacks actually makes it more effective. So it's going to be more effective for your discipline and your health. So that means for 18 hours of the day, you're not eating. And for 6 hours, you have the opportunity to actually eat and put food into your mouth. Lots of science says intermittent fasting is genuinely the best way to improve your energy. There was actually this guy who wanted to commit suicide by starving himself to death. So he locked himself in his room and he just stayed there for 4 days. And on the third day, he was like, I don't feel suicidal anymore. I feel actually good. Like, I don't have depression. That's because of prolonged fasting, which is different from intermittent fasting. But basically, after he recovered over some time, when he adopted the practice of intermittent fasting, which is what I'm practicing and what you should practice, things that felt like such a drag to do felt so easy to do. Sometimes he'd forget his car keys in his car, let's say, and he'd just be thinking to himself, "Ugh, I can't be bothered." But after he had practiced intermittent fasting regularly over a period of time, afterwards, when he forgot it in his car, he would be like, "Oh, it's in the car. Let's just go get it." He like leaves to get it, and it's not a drag. Fatigue is the reason for your procrastination sometimes, and it's also the reason for your lack of discipline because you just can't be bothered to do it. That's the phrase. You can't be bothered. It's because you don't have the energy to actually overcome the initial energy expenditure of discipline. Because really, discomfort, the feeling of discomfort, is just your brain shouting to you. This task, it has like we're gonna have to spend lots of energy for it. And if we don't have energy today, then we're gonna not have energy tomorrow and we're gonna die. So stay away. That's what happens. Discomfort itself is not actually the problem, it's lack of energy. And lack of energy comes from eating all the time. Even like, for example, if you wake up in the middle of the night, you go to sleep and then you wake up at 2 a.m. Now you're hungry and you eat some like ice cream just to help you fall back asleep. That is the reason why you actually feel so exhausted and fatigued and tired and maybe sleepy all the time. So the first protocol, intermittent fasting. The second thing is exercise, which is pretty obvious. Exercise also improves your energy by improving your mitochondria and your blood sugar levels. So this is simple. You don't have to do an intense run every single day, or you don't have to go to the gym every single day and do that, that kind of thing. You just need to do even a 5-minute walk around the block every single day if you're really on that level. 5 to 10 minutes around the block, it doesn't require that much energy. So this is a very easy exercise. Just exercise every single day. And a good rule is 5 minutes every single day. The third thing is do cold showers. So every single morning, uh, as soon as you wake up, you get your towel, go into the shower, You put the handle all the way far back as you can to the blue bar. And then just be in the cold shower for at least uh, 20 seconds, let's say. But you can like work it up as you get more cold adapted. And then afterwards, after you shiver a bit, then you can go back to the warm shower. The reason why that helps your energy is for the same reason of exercise, which is mitochondria. Your body has to produce more energy in order to produce more heat to stay alive. So it just trains your energy to be more efficient at burning energy. So these three things alone will help you to increase your energy for discipline, which is the energy of discipline protocol. That's the name I'm going to give it. It's going to be mine, right? Energy of discipline. And once you can get these three things into place, or you get like progress on these three things, then you can also start working on a mindset shift. Because discipline is not just the physical, physiological things that you do every single day, it's also your self talk, your mindset. So, discipline is all about energy in your prefrontal cortex. So, the more energy that your prefrontal cortex can use, the more discipline you'll have. A lot of the times, people, me included, the reason I procrastinate and don't do the hard work, like I tried to procrastinate this video actually, but I used the specific self-talk exercise that I'm going to teach you right now that helped me to actually overcome this initial barrier of discomfort, like I mentioned earlier. What the initial barrier of discomfort is just the initial energy expenditure that you have to get into. It's like a freight train. At first, like the old trains where they have they do that. The at first when they move, it's very slow. Like the wheels barely turn. But if you wait for a while, like 25 minutes, 30 minutes, it starts to move faster and it eventually can outrun you like 3 times over. It's just at the first beginning moment, it requires lots of energy and you haven't built like the train doesn't have enough energy to yet move fast. So it's just the initial energy expenditure that is kind of slow. But after that, once you actually are willing to spend the energy, the physical ATP in your body towards doing the hard work that you're procrastinating, that's when the freight train goes fast. That's when your performance improves. That's when things become easy. That's when transporting the cargo becomes easy. So the initial barrier of energy expenditure, that's the problem. So that what's the self-talk exercise that will help you to be able to move the freight train to like give enough time for the freight train to overcome this initial barrier of energy expenditure. What will give you the patience to do that is to tell yourself, I have the energy to do this. Sometimes, like at night, I want to record a video because sometimes I don't have time in the morning or in the afternoon. So by the time I go to the evening, I'm genuinely tired. Like I want to sleep so much. And yet, a lot of the times, like a lot of the videos that you've seen in my past, I actually recorded them in the evening. So even though I was tired, I still did it anyways, which is crazy because before I recorded the video, I was thinking to myself, I have no energy for this. Like, I want to sleep. Except I did have the energy for it. Because if I genuinely had zero ATP, zero physical energy, glucose, ketones in my body, I wouldn't have been able to be physically capable of recording that video. So, no matter what your brain thinks, you always have the energy to do the hard work that you don't want to do. Even if you don't do any of the three exercises that I mentioned of the energy of discipline protocol, which are intermittent fasting, exercise, cold showers, even if you don't do those things, you still have energy to actually do the hard task. So, the self talk exercise you need to do in order to get through the initial barrier of energy expenditure is just to remind yourself, use the exact phrase that I'm going to say. It doesn't matter what I think because I actually have the energy to do this task. No matter what I think, I have the energy to do this task. So you don't need to worry about it being too uncomfortable, especially if you do the three things that I mentioned earlier. You're going to have more energy. So you'll be able to overcome the barrier of discomfort, the barrier of energy expenditure. It just gives permission to your brain and to your prefrontal cortex that you can do the hard work because you have the energy to do so. And how do you get the energy to do so? You do the three things that I did before, that I mentioned before: intermittent fasting, cold showers, exercise. And then you start the freight train. You turn the keys to the car by just telling yourself, I have the energy to do this. I am capable of doing this. If I'm capable of doing this and I have the energy to do it and I don't do it anyways, I'm just choosing not to do it. That's when your brain will like initiate the actual hard work, the first step. And the energy that will fuel the rest of your steps will come from the three things that I mentioned earlier. This is the energy of discipline protocol. And this is the foundation to everything in the happiness protocol. If you want appreciation, health, an important mission, social connection, MCGI, all of those things require discipline. Happiness requires discipline. So if you want to improve your discipline, your mental toughness, your self control, increase your energy, and adopt the self talk exercise that I told you earlier. Make life worth living. See you.